Imagine a bustling African city where kindness sparks a secret so big it could topple towers. What if a humble tailor girl saved an elderly janitor from shame, only to discover she's the mother of a powerful CEO and then helped her win his heart? Stick around for a folk tale full of twists, ancestral magic, and a lesson that'll warm your soul. Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into a story where the streets of Kumasi reveal a destiny no one saw coming. Kumasi woke each morning to a chorus of life. The sun, a golden elder, rose over the horizon, spilling light across the sprawling city where glass towers stood tall beside dusty markets. Motorbikes zipped through narrow streets, their engines buzzing like impatient bees, while traders in vibrant kente cloth called out, "Fresh yams, sweet plantains!" The air was thick with the scent of charcoal fires, roasted corn, and the faint tang of diesel. High-life music floated from tinny radios, weaving a thread of joy through the chaos. This was a city of contrasts, where the old ways of the Asante people danced with the dreams of a new generation, where the ancestors' whispers lingered in the rustle of palm trees lining the boulevards. In a small corner near the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, Amara's tailor shop hummed with quiet purpose. She was a young woman of 23, her skin dark and smooth as polished ebony, her eyes bright with a kindness that seemed older than her years. Her hands moved swiftly, threading needles through fabric gold for a wedding gown, crimson for a chief's robe, fingers nimble as the weaver birds that darted among the mango trees. Amara's shop was modest, its wooden walls adorned with bolts of cloth and a single photo of her late grandmother, Nana Akua, whose stern smile watched over her. Nana had raised Amara with proverbs and stories, teaching her, "The river does not boast of its water, yet it feeds the village. So must you give without pride." Amara lived simply, her days a rhythm of stitching and sharing. She'd slip a coin to the street boys who begged near the market, or hum a song for the old bead sellers whose hands shook with age. Her neighbours called her Sister Sunshine, for her warmth lit even the greyest corners of Kumasi. But beneath her smile lay a quiet ache streamed of a life beyond her shop, though she never spoke it aloud. "The ancestors know my heart," she'd whisper, trusting their unseen hands. One humid afternoon, as the sun hung heavy and sweat beaded on her brow, Amara stepped out to stretch her legs. The Kwame Nkrumah Circle buzzed with its usual clamour hawkers shouting, horns blaring, children chasing a ragged football. Then a sharp voice sliced through the noise like a machete through cane. "Move, you old broom. You're slower than a tortoise in mud." Amara turned to see a group of young men in shiny suits, their polished shoes glinting, gathered near a sleek building of glass and steel Asante towers. They pointed and laughed at an elderly woman sweeping the pavement. Her back was bent like a weary baobab branch, her faded blue janitor's uniform patched at the elbows. She clutched her broom, her hands trembling as one man kicked dust onto her clean path, scattering grit across the stone. The crowd grew, some chuckling, others watching in silence. Amara's blood warmed with a fire she couldn't name. She remembered Nana Akua's tale of the humble sparrow who fed a starving lion, earning its protection. "Kindness is strength," Nana had said. Without a second thought, Amara strode forward, her sandals slapping the hot ground. "Leave her be!" she called, her voice steady as a drumbeat. "The ground you walk on is clean because of her hands. Would you mock your own mother so?" The men faltered, their laughter dying. One, with a gold chain dangling from his neck, sneered. "Mind your business, tailor girl." But something in Amara's gazier spark, borrowed from the ancestors, made them shift uncomfortably. They muttered and shuffled off, leaving dust in their wake. The old woman looked up, her eyes cloudy with age but warm as a hearth fire. "Thank you, my child," she rasped. "I am Mame Efua. These bones are old, but they still serve." Amara knelt, picking up the broom's scattered straws. "No one should carry shame for their work, Mame. Let me help." Together they swept, the broom whispering against the stone like a lullaby. As they worked, Mame Efua spoke of Kumasi's passed-off mud huts, replaced by towers, of festivals where drummers called the spirits down. Amara listened, her heart swelling. She didn't know it then, but the ancestors were watching, their hands already threading a tale through the city's weave. Days turned to weeks, and Amara wove Mame Efua into her life, like a bright thread in a dull cloth. Each afternoon, she'd leave her shop with a small gifter bowl of fufu wrapped in banana leaves, a cup of sobolo juice staining her fingers red, or a scrap of fabric to patch Mom's uniform. They'd sit under a mango tree near the towers, its shade a cool refuge from the sun's glare, and talk. Mame Efua's voice was soft, cracked with age, but her stories sparkled like stars on a moonless night. She spoke of a village far beyond Kumasi, where she danced in masquerades as a girl, her feet pounding red earth to the beat of talking drums. "Kindness is a seed," she'd say, "and its fruit surprises you. I once shared my last yam with a stranger who blessed me with a song." Amara drank in these tales, her own dreams stirring. She'd tell Mam of her shop, of the wedding gowns she stitched for brides she'd never meet, and of Nana Akua's lessons. She said the ancestors see every deed. Amara shared one day, peeling an orange for them to share. "I wonder what they see in me." Mame Efua smiled, her teeth stained but warm. "They see a river, Childone, that flows where it's needed." Not everyone welcomed their bond. Kwesi, a hulking supervisor at Asante Towers, watched with a scowl. He was a man of pride, his suits tailored tight, his voice loud as a market crier. He'd bark orders at the cleaners, his gold watch flashing, and sneer at Mama Efua's slow shuffle. "She's a relic," he'd mutter to his cronies. "This city needs youth, not dust." Kwesi saw Amara's kindness as weakness, a thread to snip. One evening, as the sky bruised purple and crickets began their chorus, Amara brought Mame Efua a clay pot of groundnut stew, the steam curling into the air. They sat laughing over a tale of a clever hare when Kwesi loomed over them, his shadow long and sharp. "You're a disgrace, old woman," he boomed, kicking Mama's broom aside. "Can't you sweep faster? My guests arrive tomorrow, they'll see this mess." Mame Efua shrank, her stew trembling in her hands, as a crowd gathered, whispering. Amara stood, her voice a river breaking its banks. "She works harder than you shout. If your guests judge a bent back, they've lost their eyes." Kwesi's face twisted, his fist clenching. "You dare talk back, tailor girl. I'll have her sacked." Before he could strike, a shadow fell a young man in a crisp suit, his presence quiet but commanding. "Enough, Kwesi," he said, his voice smooth as palm wine. "She's done no wrong. Go." Kwesi glared but stormed off, the crowd melting away. The young man turned to Mame Efua. "Are you hurt, Mama?" His eyes softened, and Amara saw pain flicker there, masked by pride. Mame Efua nodded, whispering thanks, and he glanced at Amara. "You're brave," he said simply, then strode into the towers, his steps echoing on the marble. Amara's heart thudded. Who was he? Mame Efua only smiled, a secret curling her lips like smoke. That night, Amara dreamed of Nana Akua, her voice a breeze through the shop. The ancestors weave with unseen hands, child. Trust the thread. She woke with questions burning, the city's lights winking beyond her window. Whispers flew through Kumasi like egrets before a storm. The young man was Kofi Asante, CEO of Asante Enterprises, a name carved into the city's skyline. At 30, he'd built an empire from nothing, some said with cunning, others with luck. His towers housed banks, tech firms, and dreams, yet his heart remained a locked calabash. Women sighed over his sharp jaw and deep voice, but he walked alone, his eyes fixed on horizons no one else saw. Amara couldn't shake his face those eyes, wells of sorrow and strength. Meanwhile, Kwesi stewed, his pride bruised. He cornered cleaners in the tower's basement, plotting. That Taylor girl thinks she's clever. I'll show Heron, that old hag. He spread whispers that Mame Afua napped on duty, her broom idle, stirring grumbles among the staff. Amara heard the rumours at the market, her jaw tightening. She stitched late into the night, her needle flashing, praying the ancestors would guide her. One morning, as dawn painted the sky pink, Mame Afua shuffled into the shop, her broom traded for a woven basket. Her face was lined with worry, her voice trembling like leaves in a gale. "Child, I need your help. I've carried a burden too long. Will you come with me?" Amara set her needle down, sensing the weight of something sacred. "Always, Mom," she said, grabbing her shawl. They boarded a trotro, the minibus rattling past palm-lined streets and honking taxis to a quiet compound on Kumasi's edge. Dust rose under their feet as Mame Afua led her to a small room with mud walls and a tin roof, its air thick with the scent of dried herbs. She knelt, pulling a carved box from under a mat, its wood etched with spirals. Inside lay a faded photo, young woman in a headscarf holding a baby, her smile bright as the moon. "This is me," Mame Afua said. "And my son. I lost him to the city's hunger long ago." Amara studied the photo, her breath catching. The baby's eyes wide, searching, were Kofi's. "Mom," she whispered, "is Kofi Asante your son?" Tears fell from Mame Afua's eyes, glistening on her cheeks. "Yes, child. I bore him in a village under a mango tree. His father died when he was small, and I sent him to an uncle here to learn trade. I followed years later, broke and alone. By then he'd risen high, and I stayed low, sweeping his floors, watching him grow. I never told him." "Why hide it?" Amara asked, her voice soft as a prayer. Mame Afua sighed, her hands tracing the box. "Pride swallowed me. I wanted him to stand tall, not bend for a mother in rags. I feared he'd pity me or worse, turn away. But now my heart aches to hold him again. Kwesi's lies tighten the noose. I may lose this last thread to him." Amara's mind spun. The CEO's mother, a janitor. The ancestors were weaving a tapestry beyond her ken. She thought of Nana Akua's tale of the lost cow, who returned with a herd. Sometimes what's hidden brings the greatest gift. "We'll mend this, Mum," she vowed. The river flows back to its source. That night, Kwesi struck. He rallied cleaners to complain, and a memo circulated. Mame Afua faced dismissal. Amara heard the news from a market friend, her heart pounding. She knelt by her shop's window, whispering to the stars, "Ancestors, show me the path." A breeze rustled the mango tree outside, carrying Nana's voice. "Truth is a light. Shine it bold. Amara rose with the sun, her resolve hard as ironwood. She stitched a dress of gold and green, its threads shimmering like a queen's ransom, fit for Mame Efua's truth. "Wear this," she said, draping it over Mam's shoulders that afternoon. "We'll go to him together." Mame Efua hesitated, then nodded, her eyes glistening. They walked to Asante Towers, the city alive with hawkers and horns, the dress catching light like a beacon. The guard frowned at Mame Efua's regal look, but waved them through when Amara claimed an appointment. They rode a glass elevator, its hum a quiet song, to the top floor. Kofi sat behind a desk of polished wood, papers stacked high, the city sprawling below like a quilt of green and grey. His eyes widened as Mama Fua entered, her bent frame straight with dignity. "Sir," Amara began, her voice clear, "this woman has swept your floors, but she's swept your life too. She's your mother." Kofi froze, his pen clattering. Mame Fua stepped forward, her voice soft as a lullaby. "My son, I bore you under a mango tree. I've watched you rise, silent as a shadow. Forgive me for hiding." She pulled the photo from her basket, placing it on his desk. Kofi stared, his face cracking like dry earth under rain. He stood, crossing the room in 3 strides, and knelt before her. "Mama," he whispered, tears tracing his cheeks. "All these years you were near?" His hands trembled as he touched her face, tracing lines carved by time. "Why didn't you speak?" Mame Efua wept. "I feared your shame. A mother in rags for a son in towers." He pulled her into his arms, the room thick with the scent of love reborn. "No shame, Mama, only pride." The ancestors' breeze sighed through the open window, blessing the moment. Kofi turned to Amara, his eyes soft as dawn. "You've given me back my heart. How can I repay you?" Amara smiled. "Marry her joy, not her shame. Let her stand beside you." Kofi nodded, a vow in his silence. Days later, Casey's lies unravelled cleaners, confessed his schemes, and he slunk from the towers, humbled. A grand celebration filled, the building drums pounded, kente flowed, and Mame Efua danced as Kofi's mother, no longer a janitor, but a queen. Elders blessed them with proverbs, and children tossed flowers. One evening, as stars winked over Kumasi, Kofi found Amara under the mango tree. "You've stitched more than cloth," he said, his voice low. "The ancestors brought you to me. Stay near?" Her heart drummed, her laugh a melody. "If the river wills it," she teased, knowing the tale stretched beyond the horizon.